We all like role-playing, don't we? It's kind of a nice little fun pastime, whether it just be role-playing little scenarios with your friends, or whether you're playing a simple thing called D&D, or various other role-playing games along the line, like Pathfinder, Starfinders, or maybe Cyberpunk, for example. Well, today I've got a fun mod for you called Dig's D&D Origins, and this is going to be a really cool collection of awesome origins that are very themed after the races of D&D. So, let's roll for initiative. It's a natural one. How very unfortunate. Stupid shenanigans aside, let's get into the origins. We got the variant of human. This is just a simple Minecraft human with a few little changes. First off, you got access to a single skill and a single feat. You'll get to choose one once you choose your origin. I'll take this opportunity to actually teach you all the skills and feats that are available with these origins. Starting with skills, animal handling. You deal no damage to animals tamed by you. This only counts to mobs that are tamed by you, such as parrots, wolves, and cats. Any other mobs that you breed or do any other things along those lines will still take damage from any times you hit them. Arcana, you gain XP 20% faster. Medicine, all healing for you is increased by 20%. Nature, when using bone meal on crops, the bone meal effect is applied twice. Sleight of hand, most of your actions do not trigger skulk senses. Stealth, most of your movements do not trigger skulk senses. And survival, you gain an additional hunger bar for each item you eat. Next are your feats. Charger. While you're sprinting, you can choose to either shove or deal an extra damage to a creature. If you hit a target while your hand is empty, you'll have significantly more knockback than before, but if you hit a creature with a weapon, you'll gain +4 to the damage you deal. This ability has a 6-second cooldown and you cannot sprint in that time frame. Heavily armored, you are trained to master the use of heavy armor. You gain proficiency with heavy armor, giving you +2 to your armor toughness whilst wearing a full set of diamond or stronger or is equipped. You are also 10% slower whilst benefiting from this effect. Lightly armor, you've been trained to master the use of light armor. You gain proficiency with light armor, giving you +2 to your armor toughness whilst wearing a full set of chainmail or lighter armor. You are 5% slower whilst benefiting from this effect. Mobile, your speed increases by 20%, but your exhaustion increases by 30%. Moderate armor, you have trained to master the use of medium armor. You gain proficiency with medium armor, giving you +2 to your armor toughness while having a full set of armor heavier than chainmail but lighter than diamond is equipped. You are 7% slower when benefiting from this effect. Sentinel, you hit a creature who is facing away from you either for running away or attacking an ally. The target will be stunned for 6 seconds. The ability has a 6-second cooldown and does not work on other sentinels. You take 50% increased damage from projectiles. Skilled, you gain proficiency in 3 additional skills of your choice, but all skills will be half as effective. You'll choose these skills upon selecting your feat and then add back to the skills from before. Skulker, you're expected sleeking through the shadows. Sneaking whilst in a light level 7 or less will render you, but not your armor, invisible. Skylight level is taken into account for this feat. And tough, your health point maximum increases by 20%, but your range attack damage is reduced by 30%. Now that I've gone through all the skills and feats that come with this mod, let's go through the actual races that you have to choose from. Most of the races have a bunch of sub-race types that you can select from. There are 2 that don't, we'll get to those in a moment, but starting off with the elf. When you pick this, you have access to the high elf, the wood elf, and the dark elf. The high elf is a single impact origin. As a high elf, you have a keen mind and mastery of at least the basics of magic. Size, you are slightly slimmer than humans and you have 20% less hit points. Your size is medium. Dark vision, accustomed to twilight forests and the night sky, you have superior vision in the dark or dim conditions. Trance, elves don't need sleep, instead they meditate deeply. Remaining semi-conscious for 4 hours a day, your insomnia builds up half as fast. Doesn't stop you from sleeping though, lol. Elf weapon training, you have proficiency with the sword and bow, dealing 2 extra damage with both. Toro health isn't updated to 1.20 yet, so instead I use a stone sword which usually does 5 damage against a husk which has 20 hit points, being killed in 3 hits because of this ability. And cantrip, you know 1 cantrip of your choice from the following list: Firebolt, Poison Spray, Ray of Frost, or Lightning Lure. You will pick a cantrip upon selecting this sub-race. This race is, I believe, the only one that can pick a cantrip at this point in time, but it will probably be added to more different races in the future. Let's go through the cantrips. Firebolt, you hurl a mote of fire at a creature or object within range. On hit, the target takes 3 fire damage. Any target hit by this spell ignites and continues to burn for 2 fire ticks. This is a range of 35 blocks. It's a slow-moving firebolt particle effect. If you are trying to shoot a moving target, try and be a lot closer to it because it's very likely to miss because it's a slow-moving item. But when it does hit, it does a little bit of damage, does a little bit of fire damage, and that's about it. Poison Spray, you extend your hand towards creature you can see within a range and project a puff of nauseous gas from your palm. On hit, the target gains 4 withering damage and is poisoned for 3 seconds. This is a range of 8 blocks. Ray of Frost, a frigid beam of blue-white light streaks towards a creature within range. This is a range of 18 blocks. And Lightning Lure, you create a lash of lightning energy that strikes at one creature you're aiming at. On hit, the target takes 4 lightning damage and is stunned for half a second. This has a range of 11 blocks. Next subrace is the Wood Elf. As a Wood Elf, you have keen senses and intuition, and your fleet feet carry you quickly and stealthily through your native forest. First off, you've got the common abilities between these subraces. You've got your size, you've got the dark vision, you've got the trance, and of course your elf weapon training. But moving into your unique abilities, you've got Fleet of Foot. Your base walking speed is 10% faster. Mask of the Wild, sneaking up against foliage will render you invisible but not your armor. Then Dark Elves. This is a 2-impact origin. Also called Dark Elves, the drow have skin that resemble charcoal or obsidian, as well as stark white or pale yellow hair. You have repeating abilities again, such as size. You do have superior dark vision than before, but it's really not that much difference. You've got trance again, but you've got sunlight sensitivity now. Your vision is reduced when in direct sunlight. You have darkness in the daylight, but it doesn't seem to be working quite as intended. Drow magic. You cast a fairy, fire, and darkness spells each once per day with this ability. You regain the ability to do so once you take a long rest. These spells both require concentration and cannot be active at the same time. Fairy Fire. Each entity within a 6-block range of the target location will have the glowing effect. This area will remain to glow entities for around 1 minute. Activating this ability a second time or taking damage will cause the effect to end early. This is your main ability. Darkness. Magical darkness spreads from a point you are aiming at within a range to fill a 5-block radius sphere for the duration. A creature with dark vision cannot see through this darkness, and non-magical light can't illuminate it. If the point you choose is an entity, then the darkness emanates from them and moves along with them. Activating this ability a second time or taking damage will cause the effect to end early. Moving to the next origin, we got Half Elf. This is a single impact origin. Walking in 2 worlds but truly belonging to neither, Half Elves combine what some say are the best qualities of their elf and human parents. Human curiosity and inventiveness, as well as the ambition tempered by refined senses, love of artistic nature and artistic things. Ability score increase. Due to increased charisma, villagers will reduce their prices for you permanently. Basically, you have permanent hero village on you at all times. Size. You're slightly slimmer than humans but broader than an elf, and you have 10% less hit points than usual. Your size is medium. A dark vision. Thanks to your elf blood, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions, permanent night vision. Skill versatility. You gain proficiency in 2 skills of your choice. You'll select your skills upon selecting this race, reference back to the skill section earlier. Next is the Half-Orc, a single impact origin. Half-Orcs' greyish pigmentation, sloping foreheads, jutting jaws, prominent teeth, and towering builds make their orcish heritage plain for all to see. Size. You're larger than a human, but your size is still medium. Dark vision. Thanks to your orc blood, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. Intimidating. You're proficient in being intimidating. Too proficient. Villagers are too afraid of you to trade. Relentless endurance. When you're reduced to 0 hit points, you are reduced to 1 instead. Once you use this trait, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. When you receive any damage that would kill you, instead you would be set to a single heart of health. Savage attacks. You deal 20% more melee damage. Large appetite. You exhaust much quicker than others, thus requiring you to eat more than usual. Next, we have the Tiefling origin. This is a single impact origin. Tieflings are derived from human bloodlines. In the broadest possible sense, they still look human. However, their infernal heritage has left a clear imprint on their appearance. Dark vision. Thanks to your infernal heritage, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. Hellish resistance. You take half damage from fire damage. Infernal legacy. You can cast Hellish Rebuke and Darkness spells once with each of this ability. You regain this ability to do so once you take a long rest in a bed. Hellish Rebuke. Activating this ability will cause the next attack against you to be rebuked. The creature who damaged you is momentarily surrounded by hellish flames. Darkness. Magical darkness spreads from a point that you're aiming at for a duration of 10 minutes. If you target an entity with this ability, then the darkness moves with them. Activating this ability for a second time while taking damage will cause the effect to drop. Feared. Your infernal ancestry is feared by most. Villagers are too afraid to trade with you. Horns. Your infernal legacy shows with horns that are on your head, but remember, if you take them off once, you'll never be able to put them back on again. Our next race is the Dragonborn race. There are various different colors of Dragonborns to see here. By far the most variety of sub-races out of all the other races in this mod so far. First, we have the Black Dragonborns. They are descendants of ancient black dragons, and as such has some of their ancestors' abilities manifest in them. Ability score increase due to your increased strength. You deal 1 extra melee damage than normal. Size. You're larger than a human. Your size is still medium. Then your breath weapon. You breathe out poison before you in a line, poisoning your enemies. You regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest. Just for an FYI, a short rest is basically not doing any heavy activity. Basically, if you're jumping and sprinting, it will halt the recovery process, but if you're not jumping nor sprinting, your ability will slowly recover. Damage resistance, poison will last half as long on you. Humid habitat, whenever you're in a dry environment, you will be slowed and weakened. And large appetite, you exhaust much quicker than others, thus requiring you to eat more. Then you have blue Dragonborns, the descendants of the ancient blue dragons, and as such have some of the ancestors' abilities manifest in them. Of course, you have your repeats, such as the ability score increase, your size, as well as the large appetite feature, but then you've got your unique ability, starting off with your breath weapon. You breathe out lightning before you win a line, damaging enemies and slowing them as well. You regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest. Damage resistance, you take half damage from lightness, and slowness lasts half as long on you. Jumping into the brass dragon, we've got the same repeat abilities of the ability score increase, the size, your large appetite, as well as slowness and weakness in hot biomes. Moving into your unique ability, you've got your breath weapon, which will breathe out flames in a line in front of you, burning your enemies. You regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest. And damage resistance, you take half damage from fire damage. Next is the green dragon with the same things before, with your breath weapon being you can breathe out poison before you in a small cone, poisoning your enemies. You regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest. Very similar to the black dragon's weapon, as well as it has the same damage resistance. It effectively just is a black dragon with the green connotation. I don't know what really is different about this. Then you got the red dragon, got the same thing as before. This time you got the breath weapon of flames. You burn out a small cone in front of you, burning your enemies, and you regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest, as well as you take half damage from fire. Very similar to the brass dragon with the very similar abilities. Next, we got the white dragon. Again, same repeating abilities as before, but this time we got a different breath weapon. You breathe out frost before you in a small cone, damaging and slowing your enemies in front of you. You regain the ability to do so after a short or long rest, and you also take half damage from freezing, and slowness will last half as long on you. Next, we have the dwarf race. It has two sub-races, the hill dwarf and the mountain dwarf. Let's run through the hill dwarf first. As a hill dwarf, you have keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. Size, you're a block and a half tall. You also have 30% less hit points and deal 0.5 less damage. Your size is medium. Speed, your base walking speed is 10% slower than usual. Dark vision, accustomed to life underground, you have superior vision in the dark and dim conditions. Dwarven resilience, the poison status effect lasts half as long for you. Dwarven combat training, you have proficiency with axes, dealing +2 damage with them. The unique ability of the hill dwarf is the dwarven toughness. Your health is reduced by 30% rather than the 40% of most other small races. aka you lose 3 hearts rather than 4. Tool proficiency, you gain proficiency with mason's tools. You can mine any ore with a stone or pickaxe or greater. The mountain dwarf has all the same abilities as the hill dwarf, except for it doesn't have dwarven toughness, instead it has dwarven armor training. You have proficiency with armor, giving you +2 to your armor toughness whilst a full set is equipped. Next we move on into the gnome race. This has 3 sub-races, the deep gnome, the forest gnome, and the rock gnomes. Let's get into them. The deep gnome, a 2 impact origin, guarded and suspicious of outsiders. Sylvan Nurban are cunning and tactum, but it can just be as kind-hearted, loyal, and compassionate as their surface cousins. Size, you're half as tall as a human. You also have 40% less hit points and deal 0.5 less damage. Your size is small. Speed, your base speed is 10% slower than usual. Superior dark vision, accustomed to the underdark, your vision is superior to even those with normal dark vision. Stone camouflage, you have an easier time hiding amongst the rocks. Sneaking up while against stone will render you invisible. Next we have the forest gnome with a repeating size, speed, and dark vision ability, but instead you've also got the speak with small beasts. Through sounds and gestures you can communicate simple ideas with small beasts. Using empty hand you can immediately tame small animals. Then we have the rock gnome, again repeating the size, speed, dark vision abilities, but this time you've got Tinkerer. You can construct a tiny clockwork toy that resembles a frog. When placed on the ground, the toy moves at a slower than walking pace in random directions. Then finally the halfling origin. This has 2 different variations, the Lightfoot and the stout halfling. Let's go through them. The Lightfoot halfling has the same size as the gnomes, being half as tall as a human. You have 40% less hit points as well as 0.5 less damage. Your size is small. Speed, your base speed is 10% slower. Lucky, you find better loot in chests and when fishing. Your luck effect is there, so your odds of finding good things are far higher than usual. Halfling nimbleness, you can move through the space of any creature that is a size larger than you without being slowed down. I'm not quite sure how to demonstrate this one because I'm not 100% sure what it even means, lol. Naturally stealthy, sneaking up while against an entity larger than you will render you invisible. And this down halfling has all the same abilities except for the final ability, which instead of it being that sneaking near large things makes you invisible, you have stout resilience instead. Poisons last half as long for you. So what were your thoughts on that collection of Origin? This is probably the densest video I've created because there's just so much information packed into such a short time period, but that's because most of it doesn't need any amount of explanation like usual with a lot of other Origins. So what are your thoughts of this? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to click this video on screen here for more Origin shenanigans. Bye bye!